Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, then I hope you aren't too disappointed. Today I am going to be reviewing one of my most favorite books, but also a very beloved book on BookTube, and that would have to be Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I already told the same story back when I did my Scythe review video, which was horrible, but I was not very intrigued by this book when I read the cover, and here we are. I am pretty disappointed in myself. However, I do not think I would have liked Six of Crows as much as I do now if I had read it back then, so maybe it's for the best. I have no idea. But regardless, we are going to talk about it today. I just wanted to express how much I love this book. And I will be doing a video for Crooked Kingdom. You will see. Alright, but before I get into that, I will put out two disclaimers. There will be timestamps in the description box in case you want to skip to a certain part of the video, and you will see that there is a spoiler section at the end of this video. This book has so many things going on in it that I just would not want to ruin it for you, so if you have not read Six of Crows, then I would highly suggest that you do not watch that part of the video until you have read Six of Crows, and then we can talk about it. And finally, my mandatory content warning. Six of Crows has just a very dark setting. It's not like depressing, but it's more just casting a shadow over a city and everyone is affected by that shadow. Nothing here in this world is unicorns and rainbows, if I may say that. But everyone in this book is kind of out for one thing. It's either money or it's pleasure. To get those things that they want, they will use lots of violence. Some of the scenes in this book are pretty violent. If you are sensitive to violence, then I would be really cautious of that. And also, these characters, some of the characters in this book, have some pretty tragic backstories, one including being sold to work as a sex slave, so please, if this is something that might upset you, then I would be really cautious when going into this book. And now that we've gotten that out of the way, I will start with the brief overview of what this book is about. I actually do believe that the front of this book describes its plot best without spoiling anything, so let me just read it to you real quick. 6 dangerous outcasts, 1 impossible heist. That's what this book is. But if you didn't pick up on any of that, there are 6 people, hence Six of Crows. There are 6 people, 6 teenagers who go out to embark on this very difficult heist that can really easily get them killed, but they are doing it for a really large amount of money because money. But I wanted to do a special segment about the characters in this book because they are such a vital part of the story. Let's start with the one and only Kazbrekker, who is the leader of this group. He is relentless, he is violent, he does not care what happens to the people who get in his way. He will do whatever it takes to get them out of his head, and that is that. They will probably die, and we love him for it. Next we have Inej, who is also known as the Wraith. She is the spy for the group and is super quiet, which makes her the perfect spy. She can jump around all these buildings and she can vanish basically like right in front of your eyes. And next we have Nina, who is a Grisha. If you do not know what a Grisha is, then you're probably like me and have not read the Shadow and Bone trilogy that comes 2 years before this book. It elaborates a bit more on who Grisha are, but it is not necessary to read that before reading Six of Crows. That's what I did, and I still have not read Shadow and Bone. Getting back onto Nina. Nina is a heartrender, which means she can kind of manipulate people's bodies and kill them with like just one move of her hand, and that is how awesome she is. We have Matthias. He's a former convict of a really brutal prison, but he was wrongfully jailed. But he is a witch hunter slash Grisha hunter, so he is basically after Nina's kind of people and Nina herself. Then we have Jesper, who is the sharpshooter. He is really good with guns. He's also just really charming, flirty, those kinds of things, and he's like the comic relief of this group, honestly. And finally, we have Wylan, the youngest and the most innocent out of all of these people. He grew up with a pretty privileged past, but it's not exactly what you would think. And now that we've moved on from the characters, I wanted to talk about the pros and cons of this book. First of all, I just wanted to say that the writing in this book is just really well done. I heard that Leigh Bardugo's writing style has improved so much since the Shadow and Bone trilogy going into this duology, and I believe it, even though I have not read Shadow and Bone. There was just this really good balance between detail and just blatantness, which is something that you don't get a lot in books. And next I have an opinion that has been really common amongst all booktubers that have reviewed this book, and that is that this book is super good with the characters. The characters are so well developed, and I really loved each one of them for their own particular reasons. This is a character-driven story for sure. Obviously, a dangerous and deadly heist can also be very motivating to read the story, but I think that the characters really come through the most. And the characters' backstories, I thought that was just incorporated so well into this book. Like, you would be in the middle of a scene with them in the present, but then Leigh Bardugo would kind of bring you back into like a really long time ago in their early days, and that's what I really liked, because it was just interesting to hear where these people came from, because they're all criminals in a way. Kind of wonder how they came to be like that, and it was just done really well. And I loved the character relationships in this book, and not just romantic, because there really isn't romance in this book, but even though they're very different in personality and they do not always get along, they still have this like bond. They have to do this heist together or otherwise it won't work. For example, Inej and Nina, I thought they were gonna like hate each other for some reason, like make it, you know, competition between the girls or something, but they were just the bestest of friends and I loved it. And now moving on to some cons of this book. In the beginning, it was a bit confusing, especially for the synopsis. Not focusing. In this first chapter, the character that we have the point of view of is not a relevant character in the entire story. Like, he's not there for the entire book. It confused me quite a bit. I actually wrote some notes in the beginning for the first 14 pages. Yeah, for the first 14 pages, I wrote some pretty like detailed writing of what was going on, because I felt as if I was going to be really confused throughout the entire story. But luckily, after that, it was fine. I got it. But yeah, I analyzed it a bit too much. But do not worry if you think that this is going to confuse you, because yes, it's a bit confusing in the beginning, but do not worry, it's going to be fine. You will make it through. And my last con would have to be about the ending. This is not going to be any kind of spoiler, but the ending of this book was a bit like disappointing for me. It wasn't bad, but I just felt like the stakes should have been higher to set up the next book, which I was happy to read anyways, even though I wasn't like the happiest with the ending. And now into the spoiler section. So if you have not read Six of Crows, bye. Alright, now that they're gone, I thought I would not like Nina in the beginning. I'm not gonna lie, I really did think I was going to dislike her, but luckily I didn't. She is great. And speaking of Nina, again, I didn't realize that she and Matthias were in a relationship, kind of. Like, I didn't know that they were past lovers kind of thing. I thought that they were siblings, but then I realized, like, once I started reading how she was describing him and stuff, I was like, oh, okay. I was just really invested in the relationship, and I loved seeing them interact because they hated each other so much, but they loved each other so much. Speaking of Matthias, that betrayal scene in the ice court when they had already like broken in and things, and he locked Nina up in a cell, that was actually believable for me. I didn't think that it could just be like a setup, as everything literally was in this book. He really threw me for a loop there. I did think that he was going to betray the entire group, but thankfully no. I really love Wylan so much. Like, we're really similar in some ways. Like, he plays flute, I play flute. I thought that he was 15 in this book. I don't know why. I don't know. I can't read just like Wylan. See, we have so much in common. I think Wylan and I would be like best friends. But I just really enjoyed his character, and I was kind of sad that he didn't get any of his own chapters, but it made sense just because he was a new addition. But luckily in Crooked Kingdom, you get his perspective in the first chapter. Just the fact that he did not know what was going on and he had like zero experience in being a criminal. Relatable. And I know I'm like really good with these transitions, because speaking of Wylan and Jesper's relationship just took me into a whole nother atmosphere. This is my first time reading a gay relationship in a book. Is that surprising? I don't know. Jesper's really like confident, flirty self was really interesting to see with Wylan's like super duper shy self, and it was just cute, and I really liked it. I wish it was touched on more. And yeah, that one scene with Wylan and Jesper on the boat back to Ketterdam, they just kidnapped Kawhi and they were going to take him and use him as a trade item. I don't know. I forgot what they were gonna do with him. They ended up tailoring Wylan to look like him because they looked so similar. Oh my gosh, okay, so Jesper was on the boat every night just looking out into the water, and Kue would go up to him and just stand there and look at the water with him, and he was like, why is this random kid that we just kidnapped standing beside me on the boat? I'm just doing nothing here. But then it ends up being Wylan, like, because yeah, I love Wesper so much. It was just so cute, okay? Even though I did think that Wylan was just mentally younger, I was just imagining Jesper with this 12-year-old, and it didn't click very well for me. But don't worry, I know that Wylan is not like 12. There's a spider. Let's wrap this up. The banter in this book was so good. I loved hearing like Kaz and Inej go back and forth, and that was just their best interaction in this book. I mean, all of their dialogue, I just do love seeing any scene with them in it. This book was amazing. I loved it so much, and I will do my Crooked Kingdom review right after this one. So thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video, and bye. No mourners, no funerals.